Good morning, students. Today we are going to talk about a life cycle of defect to make you aware of the various stages of defect which a tester has to deal with while working in a testing environment. I have also added the most frequently asked question in interview on defect life cycle. This is important to know about the various stages of defect for understanding of the life cycle of the defect. The main intention of performing a testing activity is to check if the product has any issues or error. In terms of the real scenario, error, mistakes, faults are also referred to as bug, defect, and hence we can say that the main objective of doing testing is to ensure that the product is less prone to defect, or you can say it is a no defect in an unrealistic situation. So let's start with today's session. I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation which indicates the bug life cycle, or you can also say it is a defect life cycle. So here is a sharing. This is a PowerPoint presentation which indicates defect life cycle and its priority and severity. Now, first we have to understand whether what is defect, error and failure. Error: if a developer finds that there is a mismatch in the actual and expected behavior of the application at the time of development phase, then it is considered as an error. Defect means if a tester found any mismatch in an actual and expected behavior of an application, then that is considered as defect. And the failure means if a customer or end user find any mismatch in the actual or expected behavior of an application in the production phase, then it is called failure. That means when we identify it is an error, that means it is in a development phase. When it is defect, that means it is in a testing phase. And when it is a failure, that means it is in a production phase or at the end level of the organization, and that means the customer can use it and found some mismatch, and it is considered as a failure. Now, the next topic is about, that is, introduction of defect life cycle. Defect life cycle is very important topic, as the software testing is very important part of your software development. The defect life cycle is actually showing the overall cycling process or solving of defect process in a software testing life cycle. A defect, in a simple term, is known as a flaw or error in an application which restricts the normal flow of application by mismatching the expected behavior of an application with the actual one, right? That means if during an application development and testing, if your application is not giving you as per the expected result, that is considered as defect. The defect occurs when any mistake is made by the developer during designing or building of an application. Sometimes the defect might be occur due to some environmental condition like radiations, right? So defect can be human made defect or environmental defect also. It is a responsibility of tester to do through testing of an application, found the defect and solve it so that the quality of the product can be reached. It is important to understand about defect life cycle before moving to the workflow and the state of the defect. So let's start with defect life cycle. The defect life cycle is also known as a bug life cycle. Now, it is a cycle of the defect from which it goes through the covering of different state of their entire life. This start as soon as the new defect is found by the tester and comes to an end when the tester closes the defect. It varies the organization to organization and also from project to project. That means every organization follows their own structure of defect life cycle. But whatever we are going to see in this tutorial, that is a generalized life cycle of the defect. The software testing and using different kind of tool for tracking of the life cycle of the defect. So Bugzilla is one of the tool which will be utilized to track defect life cycle. Defect status or bug status in defect life cycle is the present state from which the defect or bug is currently undergoing. There are various stages in defect life cycle which goes to the work. Every bug has particular stage of the life cycle which is known as defect status or bug status. The goal of defect status is to precisely convey the current state or progress of the defect or a bug in order to better track and understand the actual process of the defect life cycle. Now, we are going to see the diagram of defect life cycle. This is a diagram showing a different or various defect life cycle, or you can say it is a bug life cycle. Now, when we talk about a defect life cycle, we have to follow several things, or we have to go and check several things and each and every phases of the life cycle. Here, we are going to elaborate each and every phases of defect life cycle. Now, when tester find a defect, the status assigned to that defect is a new. That means the defect is in a new state. A defect is forwarded to project manager for analyzing. The project manager decides whether a defect is valid or not. Here, the defect is valid or not, it is considered by the project manager. Whatever the defect is not valid, then it is considered as rejected. So, the project manager assigns a status rejected. If the defect is not rejected, then the next step is to check whether it is in a scope or not. Suppose we have another function, email functionality for some application. You have to find a problem with that, but it is not a part of current release. So that defect can be assigned as postponed or deferred. Next, the project manager verify whether a similar defect was raised earlier or not. If yes, then defect is assigned a status duplicate. If no defect is assigned to a developer who start fixing the code, during this stage, the defect is assigned a status is in process. Once the code is fixed and defect is assigned a status fixed. Next, the tester will retest the code. In the case, the test case passes, the defect is closed. If the test case fail again, the defect is reopened and assigned to the developer again. Consider a situation where during a first release of the flight reservation, a defect was found in a fax order that was fixed and assigned to status closed. During the second upgrade release, the same defect is again resurfaced. In such case, the closed defect will be reopened. So these all are known as defect cycle. Now, I am going to elaborate each and every phases in detail. The new state, when the bug is posted first time, it is considered as new. After tester has posted a bug that lead to the tester approval that bug is genuine or not, and it is changed to the new state that is known as open. Once the changes of the state is open, it will be assigned to the corresponding developer or developing team. The state of this bug is now changed to assigned. Once the developer fixes the bug and has to assign the bug to retesting again for the second round, then the status of the bug will be considered as test. It specifies that the bug has been fixed and released to the testing team. Another state of the life cycle, which is known as deferred, that means the bug changed to the deferred state, that means the bug is expected to fix in a next release. There is no current priority to solve this bug. Rejected state means the developer feels that bug is not much genuine and we reject the bug. At that time, the status of the bug is considered as rejected. Then the duplicate phase. If the bug is repeated twice or more than 2 times, then the bug is considered as duplicate bug. Verified, that means once the bug is fixed and the status changed to the test, the tester tests the bug again. If the bug is not present in the software, he approves the bug and fix and change the status to verified. Reopen state. If the bug still exists even after bug is fixed by the developer, the tester changes the state to the reopen. Reopen is once again the bug has to traverse through the life cycle. The last state, it is considered as closed. Once the bug is fixed, it is tested by the tester. If tester feels that there is no bug exists in the software, he changes the status of the bug as closed. So, this is a whole testing life cycle. After the testing life cycle, we have to check the parameters that is known as defect priority and defect severity. Defect priority and severity are the defect tracking resolution which will be considered at the time of defect life cycle. Right? So, we are going to see these two parameters first of all. What is severity? Severity is defined as a degree of impact a defect has to develop on or operation of the component is being tested. That means how the intensity of the bug on the application, so that is known as severity of the defect. Higher effect on the system functionality will lead to the higher severity of the bug, and the lower effect of the system functionality due to bug is considered as a lower severity. Quality assurance engineer usually determine the severity level of the defect. The second terminology is defect priority. Defect priority is defined as the order in which defect should be fixed. Higher the priority, the sooner the application the defect should be resolved. Defects that leave the software system unusable are given the higher priority over the defect that cause a small functionality of the software to fail. So here is a defect. Severity means intensity of the defect, and the priority means that leads to the how sooner we need to solve that defect so that it cannot damage your application or software in much way. When we talk about defect priority, there are several types of the priority. The first and forward type of the priority is known as critical defect, or you can also known, it is also known as defect which is showstopper. In a showstopper kind of bug, that means a bug which is very critical and which cause a very important functionalities to be stopped due to that bug. For example, missing menu in an option or security permission or your login functionality will not work. So such kind of bugs are considered as showstopper bug. Second type of the bug is having high priority or major priority. The defect that does not function as expected or designed or cause other functionality to fail to meet the requirement, it is considered as major bug or high priority bug. For example, inaccurate example, calculation, inaccurate field, wrong field uploaded or updated, that is having a high priority bug type. Average or medium bug. The defect which do not conform to the standard or convention can be classified as a medium bug. Easy workaround exists to achieve the functionality and objective. For example, some visuals are not matching, text links are not lead to the correct location are considered as average or medium priority bug. The fourth type of the priority is minor or low priority bug. Cosmetic defects such as having not a proper color combination or not a proper font, that is considered as cosmetic bug. So these four are types of the priority which is defect having in a defect priority types. The next topic is defect severity type. There are three types of the severity or intensity of the bug. The first type of the severity is known as a severity 1 or fatal defect. Severity 1 or fatal defect is defined as an abnormal end of the program or abnormal starting of the program. So that will be not setting up or carried out by the application. Severity 2 kind of defect is also known as a critical defect, which is defined as an abnormal end of the program, process, function and resulting into a corrupted data or production hold, that is known as critical defect or severity 2 type defect. Severity 3 or major defect. It is defined as a defect for which no acceptable workaround is advisable or leading to some significant impact for the user. Fourth type of the severity or minor defect are the defect or bug which interrupt your system functionality at the time of operational flow, which is known as minor or severity 4 type of bug. Severity 5 type of bug is defined as a problem that does not cause the program to break the requirement. For example, suggestions that various control not user friendly, which would be considered as severity 5 defect. Now, when we consider defect and priority, we have to consider it in a both the way. When any bug comes into a picture, it will be considered both the stages, like what is the defect and what is the priority and what is the severity of that bug. The particular flow shows the priority and severity calculation of the defect. If we considered a defect having a high priority and high severity, that means the bug have the high intensity on the application and it should be solved as soon as possible so that the functionality or application can run smoothly. Such kind of bug having high priority and high severity. For example, if the logging of the system having runtime error, that means your login page is not in a working condition, and without login page you are not able to utilize your application. In such kind of bug is considered as high priority, high severity kind of bug. The second type of the calculation shows that is a high priority, low severity kind of bug. That means if there is a spelling mistake on the cover page of the application, that considered as a high priority, but the intensity of that bug is lower. That means it will not much damage to your original application working. But yes, it is having a very high priority as it gives you a wrong name of the application. So that is why it is considered as high priority, low severity bug. Another kind of scenario is high severity, low priority bug. Some kind of bug having high intensity or high impact on the application, but we can consider as priority of that bug is very less. That means it is leads to the high severity, low priority kind of bug. For example, on clicking on some link, if the link is not open and but the link will be rarely used by the user, then we can consider that it is having a high priority and high severity and low priority kind of bug. The last scenario says that is low priority, low severity. That means some cosmetic defects, spelling mistakes on some title or paragraph or report, then that kind of bug is considered as low priority, low severity kind of bug. I hope student you can get all the details or idea about bug life cycle, its priority, severity and the measurement of priority and severity bug. Thank you for listening.